Your host tonight, Daniel D.W. Whited from Denver, Colorado. D.W.
We appreciate that, man. You do so awesome in helping us with getting everything recorded and putting this call together, then blasting it out is just absolutely phenomenal. Everybody, welcome to Dr. Becky's clinic. And I love what I've heard her say, because I've seen this is, something that's based on experience, and where the world is her waiting room. And how that happens is that she gives us information and throws some things at us that they give you better insights. You can more clearly talk to or even pass these calls on to individuals that are looking to get healthy. And that's what this call is all about, is getting you healthy with some of the best products that are vastly superior when it comes to their ingredients. I mean, it's crazy. Dr. Becky, just give a little bit of background. She was went to Arizona University and was the first woman accepted to Arizona University, and as a gastroenterologist, and so that's kind of a big deal. Not only was she accepted, but she graduated and went on and practiced, and for 13 years in Tucson, Arizona. So we'll be there in a few weeks. But with that said, she was introduced then during her practice into nutrition, and found other pathways and other avenues how to get people healthy without the massive residual side effects. So she retired from medicine 10 years ago to pursue all natural health modalities and network marketing full-time. 7-figure earner in the networking industry, just telling people the truth about their health and where they're at. Dr. Becky, welcome to your call. We're glad you're here tonight. You want to say hi real quick before we jump into some of the questions?
Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for your time and attention. I always appreciate it. And thank you, Rob. Thank you, DW. You guys are so dependable. You make it so easy on me. And I'm excited about tonight because we're going to talk about omegas, and it's something that I've recommended throughout my practice. Even before I really understood the impact of omegas, I knew they were good for so many areas of the body. So you're going to understand why we have a superior Supra omega tonight. So I'm excited about tonight's call. It's going to be good.
Well, Dr. Becky, we just love you, and your audience is just loving it, and it's growing each and every week, and, it's just fantastic. And we understand that knowledge is power, and education is the passport to success. And we love the knowledge that you give us, and we love the education that you give us. But we're going to jump right into the Supra Omega Plus. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, as she just mentioned. But I'm going to kind of ask it may sound like an honorary question or really, really basic, but I'm really curious to see how you're going to answer this one. Why do you think, and Dr. Becky, just answer this best you can, but why do you think that Tom Sr. named it that, Supra Omega Plus?
That's a really good question, and I always think about how he names things, and he has an intention when he does put names to his formulations. And the reason, in my opinion, he named it Supra Omega Plus is because you're going to learn tonight about an omega product that's like nothing else that's out there. We're going to talk about what you already know, a little bit about omega-3s, 6, and 9s, but Tom Sr. has incorporated omega-5s and omega-7s, which is really rare, especially when you look at the history of omega products. So we're going to talk about an omega that's Supra, and it's a 3, it's a 5, it's a 6, it's a 7, it's a 9. And so we're going to talk about all the benefits. But the plus, and as part of the title, is also very important because he decided to add other ingredients, other superior nutrients to make this such a formidable product in the industry, to be so comprehensive and so super concentrated. So we're going to talk about D3, vitamin E, rosemary essential oil. We're going to talk about coenzyme Q10 because he took the best of the best and added it to the super omegas. The other thing I want people to remember from this call, because you're not going to remember everything that I talk about. I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff. Don't think you need to know that. Just, again, these are about, building your belief. These calls are about building your belief in these superior products. I want you to understand we've got a super omega. We've got extra added ingredients that are superior, and that we're toxin-free. Because remember, Tom Sr., Tom Jr., the entire executive team, the mantra is no toxins. And when we talk about omegas, there's a lot of omegas out there, guys, if you're buying them, at some cheap store, or, these big, manufacturing facilities that don't do regulation, and I don't want to name some of these, big, facilities you can go into and just pay a price and then go shop at a discount, and you get your omegas there. Well, if those omegas are not looking good, or if you open them up and they smell, and if they're dark, they've got mercury in them. And so what Tom has done is he's gone to areas where fresh water, cold water, is where the omega-3s come from, and the other omegas are from a plant source. And he makes sure there's no mercury. So they test it for heavy metals, and once they deem everything pure, they create the Supra Omega Plus. That's really important because there's a lot of omegas out there that are not non-toxic. They're actually very toxic. And mercury is one of the reasons why people are staying away from fish. And so we'll get into that. But back to you, DW. We'll get into the meat of all of this soon. Did I lose you, DW? Where'd you go?
Might be muted. DW, you're here.
Did not.
Here. There you go.
There you go. You're back.
It did get muted, but I'm with you guys. I was talking away. What an exciting topic. I mean, the Super Omega Plus and all that's in it. So, let's just jump right into some of the things that of the omegas and then talk about the importance of each omega. And then kind of, if you want to narrow down, one of my favorite numbers is 7. Why is omega-7 so important, and what's it doing? I mean, I've kind of got a little bit of an idea, but just throw it at us, and let's just move right in there.
Absolutely. Well, the omega-3s, let's talk about that first, because it's very important for cardiovascular health, for neurologic health, for GI health. In fact, omega-3s in studies have shown to be very lubricating to the digestive system, so things flow through the esophagus, the stomach, the small intestine, the colon, good for elimination, but really good because it has an anti-inflammatory component. So when you're ingesting omega-3s, it's really good to help the lining of the intestinal tract, the absorptive area of the intestinal tract, to prevent what we've talked about in the past, leaky gut syndrome, which can lead to irritability of the bowel, can lead to inflammatory bowel. So omega-3s are great for lots of reasons. The source of the omega-3s for the product, for our Supra Omega, comes from 3 aquatic sources. Something called krill, which when you talk to Tom Sr., he calls them shrimp little creatures in the sea. That's basically what krill is. And krills, they bring us omega-3s as well as fish, kind of the fattier fish like salmon and mackerel, and also algae. And again, he goes to cold water sources to bring those really fresh omega-3s in without any mercury. Well, the omega-3s are also really heavy in something called DHA and EPA, and this is really important because these are very powerful antioxidants. They're very powerful anti-inflammatories, but they're immune boosters as well. So all the studies that have been done on omega-3s that are really powerhouse with the DHA and the EPA, they help with vitamin absorption. They're all based around, supporting the brain and the whole neurologic system, because remember, our nerve endings and our brain are connected together. But in terms of the cardiovascular system, this is a really important nutrient because studies have shown it will decrease the bad cholesterol, increase the good cholesterol, decrease the bad fats called triglycerides, to help decrease inflammation as well as atherosclerotic plaque in our arterial circulation, which can lead to heart attacks, coronary artery disease, peripheral vascular disease, stroke. But also a lot of great studies on omega-3s to decrease insulin resistance and to help stabilize glucose. So when you think about what omega-3s are bringing to our system and, what we're fighting against, when you listen to my webinars on Thursday evening and, when we talk about what we're eating, what we're putting into our system, and we're creating metabolic syndrome, we're creating all of these free radicals in our system, we're gaining weight, we're predisposed to cardiovascular disease because of all the toxicity, the omega-3s are there to combat that. And so they're there to give us balance. And when I talk to people, I say, it is all about balance. You guys don't have to live in a bubble. You don't have to eat organic 24/7. You don't have to eat organic at all. You don't have to do anything except live your life, but you've got to put some good nutrients in your body to balance it out. Because if you don't, that's when degenerative disease sets up, inflammatory disease, gain weight, and all kinds of the bad cascade happens. So the omega-3s are very, very powerful in our product. Now let's talk about omega-6. We get a lot of omega-6 in our diet, and unfortunately, the type of omega-6 we're getting in today's world is not that good for us. And it's very heavy with the partially hydrogenated oils and different oils that people are cooking with in restaurants and fast food chains. There's a lot of corn-based oil, soy-based oil, and we talked about this in the past. You know, genetically modified corn and soy, and if you get oil from these genetically modified products, then what happens is you're pulling in more toxins into your system. So you get too much omega-6, and studies show that way too much omega-6 will actually cause inflammation, arthritis, and asthma, brain problems, cognition issues. So there's got to be a balance. And if you listen to Tom Sr. talk about omegas, he will say that again and again and again. It's about balancing the omegas. You need more 3 than you do 6s, and that's really important. So he has some natural plant source omega-6 in our product, but it's very heavy in the 3, it's very heavy in the 7, which we'll get to. So again, back to like the GMO-based oils, when you go out to eat, they're there, and it's really hard to avoid them. But when you're cooking at home, grab some olive oil and cook with that. Really good omegas, the ones that potentiate all the protectant things going on in your body to protect you against cardiovascular disease and neurologic issues. And that's why the Mediterranean diet's been so fascinating to people, because the Mediterraneans tend to cook with a lot of oil, but it's olive oil. And they tend to drink a lot of wine, and that's resveratrol, and live to be very healthy, happy, long lives without the incidence of cardiovascular disease and dementia and all the other issues that we deal with in our country. So just remember the olive oil is the good omegas. And then the sunflower oil, the safflower oil, the corn, soy oil, those types of partially hydrogenated oils are not good for us. So we talked about the really good things about omega-3s. Omega-6s, you get enough of that in your diet, so we have a plant-based source just to give you a little bit of balance within our product. And then the 9s, omega-9s, we actually can create in our own body. So when we talk about omega-3 and 6s, we say they're essential because we don't make them, so we essentially need to get them from other sources. Non-essential is 9 because we can eat like ALA, which is alpha lipoic acid, in certain flax products, and we can produce the other essential fatty acids, so the other omega-3s and 6s. So 9 is also in our product in a form of something called camelina oil, and I never even heard of this oil until I started to research this omega product. And this is a wild flax. It's a plant source, and it's high in omega-3, it's high in 5, 7, and 9, and it has great anti-inflammatory potentials. Lots of great studies on that. The omega-5, let me touch on that before we hit 7, because 7 is really exciting. Omega-5 is also coming from the plant source, the wild flax. It has so many studies that base it on comparing it to a non-steroidal. What that means is they went head-to-head with omega-5 and aspirin and Advil and Motrin and Naproxen, these anti-inflammatories. And what they found is that omega-5 actually has anti-inflammatory capabilities as strong as those non-steroidals that are prescription or over-the-counter that have side effects of GI bleeding and side effects of liver disease and kidney disease. So if you think about how powerful already about, the 3, now the 5, and the 6s and the 9s, we already have a superior omega. But the 7 is really awesome. And some of you on the line may have heard of omega-7 because Dr. Oz, he actually brought it to light big time because everyone, loves Dr. Oz, and he's a good guy, and he brings some really good nutrients and ingredients to the forefront. And I think that what he does is amazing. Well, he started to talk about the omega-7s, and he really feels it's one of the best omegas out there. And after seeing a lot of the research, I do agree. What's interesting is that Tom Sr. had been talking about omega-7s way before Dr. Oz, and he actually had put omega-7 in the SpectraMax many, many years ago. But he actually had such a hard time working with it in a liquid form, and the fact that taste was also difficult to work with, that he pulled it from the SpectraMax. But he knew that when he created the omegas, he would bring it right in with the other omegas. Omega-7 absolutely attacks metabolic syndrome head on. This is fascinating, and if you look it up online, you'll find tons of data that will demonstrate this. And what he uses is something called sea buckthorn extract. It's a plant. There's only 2 major sources for omega-7. One is macadamia nuts, and the other is the sea buckthorn. Well, the sea buckthorn brings in the 7, and what it does is it attacks your cholesterol in the right way. So studies show that it's going to decrease the LDLs, your bad cholesterol. It's going to increase your HDLs, the good cholesterol. It's going to decrease your triglycerides. It's actually going after fat in your liver. So studies will show that it decreases something called NASH syndrome, non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, which means you've got fat in your liver. We've talked about that on the webinar Thursday nights. You've got fat in the liver, your thyroid's not working well, you're gaining weight, you're got the brain fog, and you have this visceral fat that's accumulating in your abdomen because of all this vicious cycle of toxins and fat sitting together. Well, omega-7 goes right after that. So it's potentiating weight loss. It also is showing factors in study that it reduces the appetite. And on top of that, it has anti-inflammatory components. And guess what? When you compare omega-7 to drugs like Lipitor and Lopid and Actose and glipizide, so the first two were anti-cholesterol meds and the other two were anti-glucose or anti-diabetic meds. When you do a comparison, and I have this study, I found it online, nothing does better than omega-7 compared to those four drugs. And the bottom line is, when you look at the side effects of Lipitor and Lopid and Actose and glipizide, and if you look online at the lawsuits on these drugs, you will find a ton of that, a ton of adverse reactions, a ton of lawsuits. When you look at omega-7 in the studies, they haven't shown any adverse reactions with the studies and people taking it. So let me just tell you, I don't know any other omega on the market right now that uses the pure omega-3s and then the plant sources of the 5 and the 6 and the 7 and the 9 to create a super omega that addresses so many areas of our body. So to me, there's something really, really special here. But we're going to get into more of the specialness of this product. So back to you, DW.
I tell you, Dr. Becky, that is impressive. I just want to hit rewind and hit that again. But you're talking about a product that is good for the cardiovascular, good for the brain, good for the diet, good for the digestion. And I've not heard anyone complain about any digestion challenges with our Super Omega Plus. So that's kind of powerful. And you may want to mention something on that if you want to later. But
I absolutely will. Yes.
Yeah, it's just a little side question. And but what benefit? I guess let's get into. Well, you mentioned something about rosemary oil. So what's some of the benefits that we get with the rosemary oil? And even when Tom put a couple different products together, and he built this one, he put the coenzyme Q10. So that's kind of a double question there with that little side question.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the plus part of our product. So we talked about the omegas and how wonderful they are. And before I transition to the rosemary oil and the coenzyme Q10, let me just mention one other thing to the audience. Within the omega-7s, within the sea buckthorn extract, there's also superoxide dismutase within that nutrient. And it actually has 5 times more of the SOD, that superoxide dismutase, than ginseng, and over 190 phytonutrients, antioxidants, and vitamins and minerals. So it's one of these detoxing omegas. So I forgot to share that because there's so much to share on buckthorn. But the plus side of this product is the fact that there's 4 additional nutrients we're going to talk about. The first 2 I want to talk about is rosemary essential oil and then the coenzyme Q10. Rosemary is an interesting choice. It actually blends really, really well with the omegas and the other nutrients. This is something that when you ingest this essential oil, it's really good for your hair. It's really good for skin. It's good for skin tone. It's good for elasticity. It's good for moisture of the skin. It's really excellent for people that have reflux. So if you're somebody that has, a lot of burping, a lot of belching, you have acid coming up into the esophagus, your stomach's not emptying very well, and you're predisposed to gastroesophageal reflux disease, studies have been indicating it's very, very soothing for that, and it actually is helping with that. So you had brought up an interesting point, DW, is that this is a very gentle product for the intestinal tract. Number one, I mentioned about the omegas being very lubricating to the intestinal tract, great anti-inflammatories, great for absorption of nutrients at that level. A lot of omegas, and I've had them. I've had omegas from a lot of different companies, and you'll ingest them, and then maybe like a little while later you'll have a burp because your stomach wasn't emptying well, and you burp up fish, and it's disgusting. And I've been around people who've had it happen, and I've had it happen. Never happened since I started this product. Because, I just pushed all my other products aside when I started with Sisel, and I said, you know what, I'm going to become a product of all these products, and I am, and I take them all, and there's a slew of them. And you know what, the omegas don't bother me, and I've been on omegas that are just horrendous when you just burp them up and you just feel gross. You don't want to eat, you just feel nauseous. Doesn't happen with this product. The reason being is because it's put together in such a superior way. It's also coated so that those omegas are lubricating through the stomach, through the small intestine, and the colon, so everything passes through. So nothing's sitting in your stomach becoming rancid and coming backwards. So just know that that's a big factor, but part of that factor is because of the rosemary that was put into this product. The other thing that I found on rosemary oil that I really found interesting is that it helps with a lot of symptoms that come on with a virus, so and especially respiratory symptoms. So if you have a viral respiratory thing hitting you and you start to have the cough and the sniffles and the chest tightness, that will absolutely alleviate it. And because of its anti-inflammatory properties and it's an immune booster, the thoughts are that it's helping to push that virus out faster. So to me, omegas are really key, especially around flu season. So other studies showing that the oil will increase our circulation, helping our cardiovascular system, and help to decrease with musculoskeletal discomfort. So really good nutrient. I was never thought to put that nutrient with the omegas, but it makes so much sense, and it makes it so much more gentle to the GI tract. The other thing that's really super special about the combination of nutrients with the omegas is that the coenzyme Q is in very high amounts in the Supra Omega Plus, but it's a non-crystallized form, so there's no interference with the omegas. There's a lot of technical study behind all that, but just know that the form that the coenzyme Q is placed in is compatible with the omegas. And the reason this was placed there is because a lot of people need energy. This is revving up your mitochondrial ATP, but we also need to support the heart even more because omegas support the cardiovascular system, and the coenzyme Q is one of the best antioxidants and best anti-inflammatories and best ATP regulators to increase cardiac output, strong muscular cardiac output, to help with blood pressure, to control our heartbeat. And so it's amazing that you can find a product that has such a form of coenzyme Q in maximum doses to be compatible with the omegas. And so what I'm finding is that we have a heart product that's really, really special. So when you go out there and talk to people, because a lot of us know individuals that have been through cardiac issues. It could have been a heart attack. It could have been bypass surgery. They might have a stent. They have peripheral vascular disease. Their cholesterol's up. Triglycerides are up. They're struggling in that cardiovascular arena. We have a really great, safe product that addresses everything that omegas does, but now brings in the coenzyme Q10, the rosemary oil, to potentiate it even more. So to me, that's really exciting. So I'll hand it back to you, DW.
Man, Tom just does it right, and based on results, yeah, he does. He just does it right, and based on results, we're getting it done. You just given us so much already, but I'm going to throw another question at you. Why did Tom add D3 and even the vitamin E to this particular combination? It looks like it's already power packed, jammed, and he comes in there and just piles on more.
Another two great ingredients to put with the omegas, because it just boosts the antioxidant power, boosts the anti-inflammatory power. But the D3 is really important because a lot of people are D3 deficient, and it has a lot to do with not being in the sun as much as people in the past when we were more of like a farming, agricultural type society. Now we're in the office all day. Sometimes we're just at home all day. We're just not out in the sun because vitamin D is converted to D3 when you're in the sunlight. So if you're not getting that sun exposure, you've got sunscreen all over your body, you've got a hat on, whatever, you're not getting that conversion to D3. D3 is so important. It's probably the number one most deficient vitamin out there. In fact, if you talk to some experts say it's like 40% of the population. Some say 60 to 80% of the population has a D3 deficiency. And if you're D3 deficient, that's a problem. A lot of people have mood swings. There's a lot of depression associated with D3. You've heard of seasonal affective disorder, especially in places like London or up in Seattle where it's very cloudy, it's very rainy, there's not a lot of sunshine all the time. Seasonal affective disorder has everything to do with decreased D3. Your mood is down. You may be depressed. You may have cognitive difficulties. You're not thinking as clearly, a little bit of a brain fog. But D3 has some hormonal capabilities, and if you're deficient, it's not controlling phosphorus and calcium to get into our bones. And so there's not good regulation of that. Therefore, people are predisposed to something called osteopenia, osteomalacia, osteoporosis, just bone issues. And a lot of these people that are D3 deficient have pain. There's been studies showing that women over the age of 50 that complain of lower back pain, that 47% of them have shown signs of either significant or mild D3 deficiency. So Tom recognized the deficit. Remember, I talk about nutritional depletion, nutritional bankruptcy. Our foods just don't give us what we need. We have clinical proof of this, with especially D3 and the USDA studies. Tom recognized that, so he brought in the maximum dose of D3 into this product. And this is a really comprehensive product. There's a lot of products that go, you have your omega, it's great omega, take that and call it a day. This is a comprehensive product, and with the D3, you're really fulfilling a need of the major deficiency that's in the population. And then he added mixed tocopherols, which just means he's bringing in these great vitamin E's, and vitamin E we need. Oh my gosh, that's a great, vitamin. It's a fat-soluble vitamin, but you know what? It's there to boost our immunity. It's there to boost our anti-inflammatory capabilities, works synergistically with D3. And so I'm just going to recap real quick because I think it's important. You guys don't remember all the details. You don't have to. That's why these calls are recorded. This builds your belief. You can use these calls to introduce products to people so that they can feel the superiority of these concentrated nutrients and concentrated products and the pathophysiologic pathways. But let me just give you just the highlights so that you remember this. Supra omega, okay, just omega, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, bam, pure, non-toxic, no mercury, plus D3, rosemary oil, vitamin E, and coenzyme Q10. Nobody else has this. And what I love about it is, when you give this to somebody, they may not feel superior, ultimate, gratifying effects immediately, but just know that all the studies that back every one of these nutrients is the real deal. And you can find them online. We don't have any particular studies on our product, but we have all the studies out there that you can find on PubMed and all these, great places that demonstrate the studies on the nutrients that we are using to create this product. So this is something that I will take forever. I actually ditched my other omegas because they were just omegas and didn't have anything else in them, and they didn't have 5 and 7. They just had 3, 6, and 9. So to me, I thought this was a superior product I was taking until I found this product. So hopefully that gives everyone like a nice little overview, and hopefully people really get the superiority of this product.
Well, you've just given us a lot. I mean, you're talking about a product that's going to, assist with brain function and heart function and digestion and, even some weight loss and, getting through, not necessarily taking care of depression, but, man, getting the D's in you, so that's it. And virus and colds. I mean, it just goes on. When I was in Pennsylvania, Tom mentioned almost every person said, I'm really going through this. What would you possibly recommend? And one of his first go-to products was, the Supra Omega Plus. And
that's awesome. That's really awesome. And I agree with that because it's so safe and it does hit so many areas that we need support in. I love that.
Well, I love what you said about the mercury, too. I didn't think about that, but there is a lot in some of the other products, and they're not digestible in the whole 9 yards. Now, I know we're supposed to, wind this thing up, but can you throw some thoughts? I mean, you guys had the Diatomic, hydrogen water system there. They took it from you for a little while because they run it. So we stole it and we drank water all night long. But talk to us. Now you have it back. Is that right? And it's back with you again. Just tell us a little bit what's going on with the Diatomic hydrogen water.
Absolutely. And yes, it's back. The system's back in the break room because I was so irritated when it left and because I got so used to drinking it. And when I started to drink back out of the fountain, I thought I was going to throw up, to be honest with you, because it's such a difference in taste. But it's a difference in how you feel. And this is, it's a hydrogen-based water. This is not about the old alkaline days. It has nothing to do with it. This is about bringing, 2 hydrogens into the system. And the hydrogen is the smallest atom. And so when you also bring it in and it breaks apart, it's got these 2 hydrogens floating around, and it's a natural antioxidant, so it's a scavenger of free radicals. So because we're all toxic and we've got so many free radicals running around, the hydrogen is scavenging it. But also because it's such a small atom, it gets into our cells, but it pulls all the good nutrients into the cells. So if you're taking Supra Omega Plus, if you're taking Triangle of Life or TSX or Brain Vitality, whatever you're taking from our superior catalog, it's pulling those nutrients into the cells much quicker, much faster, and it's getting into the enzymatic functions to where the mitochondria is, and it's supporting those areas much more quickly, more efficaciously. So it's just a nutrient magnet is what I would qualify it as. And then also it's a natural antioxidant, but it also allows our body to produce antioxidants naturally and very fast. So we'll upregulate our body's ability to increase glutathione and catalase and superoxide dismutase, which are the most three important antioxidants. Again, combating all these free radicals that are coming in doing damage to our cells. So what we're doing with the water is we're allowing our body to have a fighting chance against all these free radicals, but potentiating the positive nutritional value and the biochemical reactions of these nutrients in the Sisel products. And it tastes good, and it hydrates you, and it does give you energy. And so I've been running around the office, and I'm always talking to people going, are you in there getting that water? I mean, if you're drinking something else outside that water, I'm going to be really disappointed, because you need to feel the effects. You need to recognize the anti-inflammatory effects, the antioxidant effects, the fact that it's going to hydrate you and give you energy and make you more durable during the day. And it's funny because people come out of the kitchen, they're drinking their water, and they come and see me in the afternoon and say, well, I have more energy, but I don't know if I believe it. And I said, believe it. I said, this is the real deal. This is completely different than anything that's out there. And you're going to start to see more and more, people coming out of the woodwork with trying to be competitive with what we have. We've got the best of the best in terms of diatomic hydrogen. So for any of you that are interested in potentiating the positive effects of all the nutrients that Sisel has, and if you're eating good things and putting good things into your body and you want to take it to the next level, this is the water you want to be drinking. I mean, I truly believe that. And so I'm not letting that machine out of the break room. I usually have like 10 to 12 glasses of that water a day when I'm in the office for 8 to 10 hours. So it's really special. And Tom is always about excellence and intention. So it's just another thing that's going to make us superior in the realm of nutrition and network marketing. So thank you, DW. As always, you're great. And loved it, and I appreciate you.
Well, Dr. Becky, you're amazing, and you get double hugs from all your audience, and everybody wants to spend more time with you. One of the most popular doctors on the planet right here with us tonight. And Dr. Becky's clinic, everybody, and you're a part of it. Let's get the clinic out and share it. Rob's going to go over some logistics on how you can do that. You can pop on Sizzle Builders. Susie and Eric are going to they throw some things out there too with the All-Star Global, so you can find these calls in multiple places. And so Rob, close out with the logistics. Thank you, everybody, for being part of Dr. Becky's clinic, where the world
is. And we'll see everybody Thursday too. And we'll see everybody Thursday for the webinar, weight loss webinar Thursday night. Join me. That's going to be fun, too.
Awesome. Well, here's what's going to happen Thursday night. She's actually going to be able to check live to see if you're there and if you brought a guest. So we're wanting you to bring a guest.
And giving awards out, giving out $50 gift certificates. So get on there.
So it pays to listen to Dr. Becky, and that is going to be the weight loss clinic information. And so we'll be pounding that out. Rob Cohan, what a great job. Thank you so much, and you can give us some logistics.
Thank you, DW. Thank you, Dr. Becky, for what you shared.
Thanks, Rob.
You're welcome. Anybody that wants to get access to any of these calls, this one and the prior ones and the future ones, drbeckysclinic.com. Very simple, very accessible from either a cell phone or a computer. It'll let you know how to get to the stuff over the Internet or over the phone. And with that, let's hear who's here.
Pete, Colorado. You call Dr. Becky.
Great job, Becky. Great job, Becky.
Hi, Marcy in Illinois.
Oh, hi.
MP, Lubbock, Texas.
Eddie from Columbus.
You guys are awesome.
New Hampshire.
Awesome.
Extraordinary. Unbelievable.
Say AP.
Great call.
Say AP.
AP in the house.
Love you guys. Great evening. Take care.